What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here, and in this video, I want to discuss something I haven't really seen anyone else talking about, and that is roaming supers. Many of the how-to guides on YouTube or advice threads on Twitter just say to use well warlocks and Orpheus rig hunters to chain supers. And listen, I don't want to minimize the effectiveness of those supers. They are undoubtedly super strong in all content, especially Onslaught, and for more casual players, this is probably the best advice. But I want to point out some things that are highly effective. See, the thing with Onslaught is that the enemies are often in different areas of the map, so you have to move to them. So having a super like a well that keeps you stationary is not always ideal. Tether is always great, don't get me wrong, I love it. And if you have a player who's good at placing it, it's undeniably effective. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about some of the things that are flying under people's radars that are truly effective. I've done numerous Onslaughts now and beaten them to level 50 on Legend using ad clear supers. I plan to bring you some awesome build guides on how to maximize these builds to their fullest potential in Onslaught. But first, I thought I would just make a quick video to discuss the topic. I do have one video up already showing my unlimited threadlings build, so check that one out if you haven't already. Build videos take a lot of time and effort and testing, so I wanted to just make this quick video to talk about this before showcasing those other builds. First up is Stormdancers Brace. Much like Don Chorus, this exotic has always held a special place in my heart. I love exotics that give our supers more damage, because I just love pumping out crazy amounts of damage with my super. I did a level 50 Legend Onslaught with this bad boy and racked up over 850 kills. You can very easily spawn kill enemies, and as you get kills on red bars, it ramps up its damage so that you can then take on higher health targets with it. That is the skill gap with this super. You want to seek out the lower tier red bars first to get ascending amplitude, and then once you have it ramped up, focus on higher health targets. And in addition to getting a damage bonus for killing ads, the more ads you kill, the more super you get back at the end. I was routinely getting 50% of my super back, and I could have it back in as little as 20 seconds with the build I was running. If your teammates make you orbs and you don't grab them while you're in your super, you can quite literally chain it over and over. And it's great for all those exploding enemies like Cursed Thralls or Exploder Shanks, because they literally just disintegrate. And it was especially awesome on Marauders as well. They are invis and can be hard to see, but the chain lightning basically just killed them before they could even run to the ADU. I have a whole crazy build video planned for this one, so if you want to see that, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell. But for now, try and make your own build with it and see how well it performs. You can just go to where the enemies are spawning and take them out instantly. So if you had teammates sitting in a well on the ADU, it would kind of be useless for the Well of Radiance, because you're out there just frying all the enemies. And it will make a ton of orbs for your teammates, so they can just keep chaining their supers as well. It's highly effective and extremely fun. I didn't want to take this build off, but alas, I did have to test some other stuff. And if you wanted to run something like Vesper of Radius, you could just quickly hot swap to this for your super and then swap back. That is how I was using it, and it is far more effective than using Chaos Reach. I love Chaos Reach, but without Geomags, it's a pretty lackluster super. The next thing I wanted to test out was Nova Warp. Now, don't get it twisted, I'm not saying Nova Warp is an amazing super, but it does do pretty good ad clear, and I love Void Warlock, and I can tell you that Nova Bombs need a serious damage buff. As far as one-off supers go, they're quite weak, they might even be the worst, especially when compared to Needlestorm on Strand Warlock. So since the one-off supers suck and won't do much against the Demolitionist Knights, why not run Nova Warp and take out the ads so that you can more easily focus on the Demolitionists when the rest of the ads are dead? Seriously, it's better than you think. I have some more roaming supers that I really want to test, Raiden Flux Arcstaff being at the top of my list, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. And if you have any others that you recommend, comment them down below for others to try. Now, I have one more that I want to mention. Stormdancers Brace goes fucking hard and I love it, but I think there is an even better super that people are massively sleeping on, and that is Sentinel Shield on Void Titan, specifically paired with Doomfang Pauldrons. This exotic extends the duration of your super as you get hits with your shield throws. And there are copious amounts of enemies to hit with your shields. I had one super that lasted for an entire minute, and it could have lasted longer, but we basically just ran out of ads. I've cleared whole ass waves basically by myself with this super, and it's a ton of fun to use. It's like a mini game in the game itself. See how many ads you can hit and how long you can keep your super going. I made a build video on this back in Season of the Witch, I think, and I've been using it off and on for over a year. It's very slept on. But now that we finally have a use for roaming supers again, I'm excited to see it rise to prominence. Don't sleep on it. I will try and make an updated video on the build because I have changed some things around to make it work well for Onslaught specifically, but in the meantime, definitely give it a try. Again, I do not want to discount the importance or effectiveness of supers like Well of Radiance, Tether, or Burning Maul with Pyrogales, as they are extremely good and can be especially useful for the tanky Demolitionists or for the Tormentors. And I will admit, something like Nova Warp is pretty useless on both of those, but those come around pretty infrequently, and if you can hot swap to things like Divinity to help take them out quickly, or just have teammates with loadouts that are more geared towards high burst damage, then you can absolutely rock a build with a roaming super and just be an ad clearing machine, and they can just be the burst DPS guys for when you need that. That is the beauty of Onslaught. Certain things work for certain scenarios. And that brings me to another thing I want to talk about. Yes, you need good ad clear, but you also need good burst DPS when the time comes. And I've been finding that grenade launchers are a wonderful mix of both. They recently got a bump to their reserve ammo, and they are perfect for a game mode like Onslaught. Sometimes you'll have a huge wave of enemies and no supers up. GLs are great for spamming a few shots and taking out some ads, but then other times you'll need to delete a high health target quickly, and again, a grenade launcher can be really good for this. I've used 3 different GLs to beat a Legend Onslaught, and they all worked really well. I have an Envious Assassin bait and switch Cataphract that worked wonders, then a Wendigo with autoloading and explosive light. I had never used this thing, it was still at 1600 power, but I'm so glad I kept it. It always had 6 shots of explosive light to chunk down high health enemies. Or take out big groups of ads because explosive light also maxes out the blast radius of the grenade. And then I also have an edge transit with bait and switch and chain reaction, so it's kind of the best of both worlds. You can have chain reaction for great ad clear, and then bait and switch for when you need that extra damage. This is such a wonderful utility role. If you are using something like a machine gun in Onslaught, then yes, they do go hard, but they don't have good burst DPS, so you probably want a hard hitting special to pair with it. But for me personally, I prefer my heavy weapon to be the hard hitter. So I can run something like Witherhoard or Buried Bloodline, and then have a hard hitting legendary GL or Rocket. I've maxed out my Shaxx reputation already, and in those runs, I have learned a lot with every run. And then I checked out a few tips and tricks guides on YouTube. The creator above made a really good one that talks about decoys and stuff to use, so check that one out if you haven't already. But like I said, much of the discussion I have seen is really centered around Well of Radiance and Tether. And yes, they are very good, don't get me wrong, but you often see the community complaining that build crafting is dead. But then a new awesome game mode comes out, and they just default to the old reliables instead of trying out new things. Every LFG I've done pretty much consists of Well of Radiance Warlocks, usually with Phoenix Protocol, Consecration Titan, which is one of my favorite builds in the game, or Gerfalcons or Orpheus Rig Hunter. Again, I'm not denying the effectiveness of those builds, I'm just trying to highlight the effectiveness of some other really strong builds that I don't see getting the love that they deserve. Anyways, that's it for the video. I just wanted to showcase the effectiveness of ad clear supers in this game mode, while also pointing out how amazingly strong and versatile GLs are now. If you have been using some ad clear builds, comment down in the comments section what you are finding to be effective to help out other Guardians who may want to mix up their playstyle. I have a ton of ideas in mind and I can't wait to show you, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss those builds when I finally get them in video form. But that is going to do it from me. Thanks for watching to the end if you're still here, it means a lot. Take care.